miscues that we. Or maybe a play that we saw last week, whether it be in film that we looked at from either of the teams. Or a play that somebody had and just been talked about it. So. We have, we'll have a pre-game discussion. The referee and the umpire, the time will go out early. Because we'll meet with the coaches, each team set those, the umpire and the referee, 30 minutes before kickoff. The timer, the clock operator will go up and familiarize himself with the clock and scoreboard programs. Because there are about 3 or 4 different ones that we have in the area. Some are easier to operate than others. And the first thing you do is you want to set the game clock to count down to 0 5 minutes before the second kickoff time. Okay. That way all the teams and the officials know that, all right, when the clock set gets to 0, and I'll talk about this next week. Yeah, it's time for the call box. But those are the things that you'll hear during the early bi-weekly meetings before the season starts. And the kickoff of the season is the first week of September.
If the ball goes out of bounds in the end of the second or fourth quarter, is there point where it, like in I guess college or pros, I don't know if it's 4 minutes or 2 minutes, when the ball is reset, the clock does not start. Like in the first quarter, ball goes out of bounds, ball set, clock runs. It's the fourth quarter that the clock does not restart until the snap, right?
Well, the college game, we have to remember the stuff we see on television typically is quite different, especially with the clock, than the high school game. In the high school game, for example, because we use a 12-minute quarter, we don't have quite as many we're going to run the clock moments like they do in a 15-minute quarter in college and in the pros. So our games are shorter, but they also have more clock stoppages. The beginning of every quarter, the clock is always stopped until the snap. And the clock rules are the same, more or less, throughout the game. There's no 10-second runoff in high school football, for example.
So if a guy goes out of bounds, the clock won't stop again until the snap.
Until the snap.
That's gets set.
Yep, we set it up. Now, if a guy gets tackled after a first down, that rule was changed to facilitate the clock moving to not waste time. So now, as soon as that ball is back in possession of the officials, we will start the clock, but notice the ball didn't go out of bounds. Right?
Will always start on first down.
Yep.
If the offense is retaining possession, the ball gets back to the umpire and he's setting the clock is starting. If we have a 40-second play clock, and this is all stuff that I'm coming into.
Yeah, and the thing is, there are 2 clocks, as you just alluded to, right? We have the game clock, and then you have the play clock. The game clock is always governed by the quarter that you're in, and basically whether it was a timeout, whether it was an incomplete pass, or whether it was a running play up the middle. All that stuff governs the game clock when it starts and stops. The play clock, on the other hand, it has its own set of rules. So generally, it's going to be a 40-second from the end of the last play. Whether it went out of bounds, incomplete pass or not, 40 seconds. Now, if we stop that to execute a penalty, or because there was a timeout, or because there was a change in possession, or a punt, where we're changing personnel, that's an administrative stoppage, and now we're going to wait and start the play clock with a whistle, and it'll be 25 seconds.
Only one person on the field actually has that, right?
The back judge will keep that play clock, which is not the referee. Everybody probably thinks the guy with the white hat is controlling all of that. Generally, the guy in the white hat is just doing the choreography. He's leading the band, and it's the other officials on the field that are actually responsible for those clocks.
Once you got a stopwatch that you click it and it goes to 40 seconds?
A special box on their waist. Yeah.
You've got timer on the belt. That toggles one direction for 25, another direction for 40.
That's right. And there's other times we have to keep track of, like how long is a timeout? It's 60 seconds. We have to make sure we get the teams back out there. And we also understand that every play situation, whether it was a penalty or not, the game clock is going to be started again depending on what happened at the end of that play, not whether it was a foul, but whether or not the play resulted in a major or minor clock stoppage, which again we'll learn about next week in more detail. So yeah, there's a lot of clock scenarios that we have to understand, even as new officials, because even when you're doing a JV game or a youth game, you need to know the clock rules
Right.
because you won't have a fifth official with a play clock, right? The youth leagues even lately they've wanted just to have just 25 seconds and have a whistle on every play, but I hear there might be moving to the high school play clock rule. So the more you get used to it, the better you'll be prepared when you finally get on the varsity field because every varsity game, you're going to have very few whistles for starting the play clock because the play clock will already be running most of the time.
Alex met youth,
Mhm.
he's talking about, clock,
The play
play
clock.
clock and all this good stuff, and he commented about his methodology that they're talking about an 8 year
Mhm.
in, wanting to lay a game now. I said, well, I'm gonna wait till my substitution, I'm gonna wait until we get
Yeah.
play. And then I'm gonna be ready to play. Because it's, what's the rate for playing, so.
Yeah, well, remember, at the youth level, the coaches are probably new to the rules themselves, right?
Yeah.
Most youth coaches are just parents of kids on the team. We have some youth coaches, like I remember when, I forget what his name is, but the guy at Killingly who just finished with the seniors. I remember when he started with the 8Us.
Yeah.
He was gung-ho, Monday Night Football quarterback type guy, and he was angry and yelling, thought he was Vince Lombardi, right? And over the years, he became a really, really like rule knowledge guy by the end of that time. But when you have the 8U coaches, and those are the coaches you
He
work
and I have some after,
Yep.
after game talks and a lot of it was about that. I mean, I've gone to the Griswold JV coach
Mhm.
after games. I said to him, when we talk to my crew, I'll come back, talk to you guys afterwards. And he thought that I was pissed at him. And, I said to him, you're 100% right about 80% of what you were bitching about.
Yeah, because they get
Even
even
doing this long enough, I can do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Right.
But the more familiar you are with the game, because you're doing the work during the week, during the off season, you're not just waiting for game day to think about it, the better prepared you'll be with the right language and the right confidence,
Yep.
right? My job is to make you confident enough to stand there with a youth coach that really doesn't know the rules and sound authoritative, sound confident, and be able to make the call and say, this is what the ruling is. And they're like, okay,
Yep.
right? That's the job, right?
Okay.
We're not going to be perfect. We don't expect perfection in new officials. What we do expect is you're putting in the effort to
Yep.
get better, right? I want to see a hunger. I want to see an interest to try to advance my career, to try to be the best official at the level I am right now. The better you do that, the better the game is going to be for you, the more fun you're going to have with the game. And the more fun the kids are going to have, the more fun the coaches are going to have. But to be honest, there are times when no matter what you do, right, it's off the rails. It's out of control. The coaches just don't know the rules.
Right.
They don't understand what's proper for decorum and behavior. You somehow have to maintain your composure in those moments, right? That's the hardest thing to learn.
Before we start filming video,
Sure.
in the email I sent you,
Okay.
I think I gave you my cell number. So next Tuesday.
I can wait to
you're
show
not
that.
emailing me, text me,
Okay.
or actually text me either way. Because you're in north, I live in Lisbon,
Okay.
it gets down to be 5 points.
Mhm.
The weather's good, you could just the two of us. We can meet at all about Park.
Okay.
More,
I think Plainfield, so
okay,
near Lisbon, yeah, he's
so we can probably find.
City Dunkin', yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I've done that before too. When it's a small group of guys who need,
Especially the timing rules.
yeah, absolutely.
That's a quick rule.
And I'll give you before you leave today, I'll give you the rule book guide for Rule 3 that I printed out for today. But I wanted to get into this section of my presentation because this is exactly what we're talking about. So to be a football official, like I said, takes a working knowledge of the rules and mechanics. That doesn't just come from coming to this class.
Oh,
Frankly, I've had moments where I felt like I really got this rule down, but because I haven't seen enough plays or I haven't watched enough video, I wasn't prepared for what happened. Right? So watching video, even watching the college games, if you think of it in the high school sense, it's going to make you a better official, right? But you need to have some hustle. You need to have tact and poise. All the things that make you a good professional at your job, you need to execute that on the field. But most importantly, it's courage, right? You're courageous to even be here, especially dealing with the background that you have to get over and overcome. You're here, and that says a ton about your character. In addition to this, is that there are rules, right? Like laws, right? Police officers enforce the law, but do they arrest everybody who goes 5 miles over the speed limit?
no,
No, right? But if they're driving 5 miles over the speed limit and it's heavy rain and cars are diving out of the way because they're driving recklessly, they do, right? So at the intent of the rule is very important. So for example, if somebody hides the ball under their jersey and they're pretending not to have the ball, that's clearly a violation of the rules. It's even printed in the rule book. Now, do we see that? Never. Never, right? But when I was a kid on my high school team, we had a where's the tee play, where the whole field goal team would act like we forgot to bring the tee. The holder would run off to the sideline like, where's the tee? And he was in legal motion and he'd cut down the field and they'd throw a pass to him. And all of a sudden, it's a touchdown, right? That isn't allowed. And now it's actually in the rule book. But coaches are always going to come up with something to kind of take advantage. But there's also the other side of that coin where you're at an 8U game and the biggest kid on the field is a lineman who doesn't know how to be a lineman. He gets down his stance and he can't sit still. He's wobbling. He can barely get into his stance. And then they snap the ball. He was never set. But the purpose of the false start rule is not to penalize the kid who can't line up. Because what is he doing to help his offense win by not even being in position to play? Nothing. Flagging him doesn't help the game, right? It slows down the game because that defender is just running right by him anyway, right? You may want to talk to him, talk to his coach. Maybe just because he's the biggest kid on the field, he shouldn't be playing lineman if he doesn't know how to line up, right? But at the same time, those are situations where, it may be better to talk to players before we flag the player, right? We might be able to explain something, especially with the young players, about why you have to be in position and wait for 1 second before the play, right? And especially, when guys aren't lining up right and you know that it's not really hurting anything, it's not affecting the defense, talking to a coach and say, Coach, your guys are lined up in front of the ball, right? I can't even see the football coach, right? Is it a foul? Sure. If you tell the coach the very next play, they're all lined up right.
Yep.
Did it hurt anybody? Did anybody even notice but you? No. But if you wait till the fourth quarter and all of a sudden they're at the goal line and now those three guys are in the end zone because they're ahead of the ball, now it's a problem,
yeah,
right? You get on it early, you talk to the players. You don't necessarily have to call holding if the score is 40-0 and the team that's losing has put in their third stringers who probably are playing out of position But if a guy comes in and knocks a kid's block off because he just wants to get a big hit and get on Facebook, you're going to flag that every time.
Yep.
So a lot of what we learn as new officials is how to adjust our temperature scale of, do we want to increase the level of control or do we want to let the game flow? Right? And that's part of where we have football sense. If you played the game, if you've been on the sideline in a chain crew, you have football sense, right? That's something you probably don't have to study and learn. But when you watch officials at the highest level, you'll see this too. You'll see officials that are talking to players, making sure they clean it up. If there's a borderline hold and the play went the other way, talk to the player, say, hey, you're lucky. If it had come this way, I would have flagged it. Get your feet fixed, right? Get it right.
Yep.
But you never want to just run out on the field because you want to get there first. Players are still involved from two different teams. They may be behind you. You might see a football bouncing around. You want to go be Johnny on the spot and get the football, and then you forget about all the players that are now punching each other, right? So you go with purpose. Go because you need to be at that next position. Never lose sight of what's going on the field. And honestly, if a football is not available, we can't play the next down. The players can get the football, right? We don't need to get the football. Ultimately, if it's a difficult penalty, especially you're a new official, and you're like, Mr. Referee, I know it was wrong. I don't know what it's called. And the referee's like, I'm glad you told me. Just tell me what happened. So know what happened, know the number, know the action. Eventually, hopefully, you'll be able to put the official name to the action. But we're going to get the play right, more importantly, so that we can all learn, right? There's hopefully not going to be a 1-minute discussion on every false start,
Right.
right? But when you have a punt play and there was a big hit, and then there was another one where a kid tripped over another kid, and you got all kinds of chaos. Everyone on the field knows, okay, there's 3 flags down. We're going to discuss,
Yeah.
right? So there's no reason to rush through a complicated penalty, just like there's no reason to overly discuss a simple false start. So it's you want to be tactful, not just with coaches, as we've been talking about, but with one another. I can't tell you how many times I've had crews where personalities just don't seem to jive. That's because we're all human beings, right? We learn what, different personalities will tolerate, right? We have 57 men, mostly men. We've had a handful of women over the years, but it's mostly men who come from all different. We got 1, maybe 2 if Abby shows up. Okay, so maybe not. But again, we got some guys that you can really talk to in this board that will answer all your questions. You send me a text anytime with a question or a Facebook message, I will get back to you. That Facebook message thing is me, by the way. I'm the one who runs that.
Okay.
So you can always reach out to me, or my contact information is in the video and I'll give it to you too anyway. But you want to make sure that when you're visible on the field, you're not looking like you don't really care about the game or about everybody else around. You want to act like, okay, you're part of a team, you're happy to be here, you're not making fun of the teams, you're not making fun of each other, you're a group, you're working together to keep the game well adjudicated, right? You don't see guys in the NFL or in college acting a fool on the field, right? You don't want to be buying the 50-50 raffle ticket when you're at a youth game, right? You don't want to take the coach's hot dogs, right? You want to make sure, and I'm saying these things because these things happened to high school officials. They have happened. What you want to do is be there because you're an arbiter of the game, right? Paramount safety, second, fairness, right?
Yep.
And just like a judge in robes, right? We're in uniform. So have that kind of demeanor. You don't want to be indifferent, but you also want to look like you can move up and down the field. Now, Max, to be honest, I don't think I see anything concerning about your physical appearance. But you want to make sure that you've been to a doctor, you've had a physical, your heart, your general condition is safe for you to do athletic things.
Hydration is key.
Hydration, yeah. Yeah, I'm really big into the electrolyte balance, so I make sure that I do, the day before a game, usually the night before, I load up and make sure my electrolytes are good because when you're going out, especially in the summertime, those dog days of August, you go out to a youth field, you're at a jamboree for 2 hours, your body's not ready for it, the cramps, the muscle pulls, things that'll keep you off the field for the next 3 weeks or maybe a season happen.
Speaking of that, do you even get hydrate there in between quarters? Or
They will bring water out to the players and you can grab a sip. I usually get the water when they have a timeout, when the players get water. At a youth game, I'll bring a water bottle and try to find a place to kind of lay it down.
Yeah.
But 90% of the time, I'll just forget it. I try to preload. I really do think, and this is talking to my personal trainer, talking to my doctor, hydrating during the game isn't going to really affect you until a couple hours after the game.
Oh,
If you want to be well hydrated during the game, you need to have done it in the morning or maybe even the night before.
all right.
So you want to have a general pattern of hydration throughout the season, throughout your daily life. So make sure when you go to work, plan for your water intake when you're at work, especially working overnights. My wife works up night shifts too. It is tough to be well hydrated in those circumstances. It's tough to maintain your diet and exercise. But you do want to plan because just like the players, you are an athlete. You're on the same field with them, right? And in youth games, it's 3 and 4 officials. Guess who has the goal line? You do. We're at the 50-yard line. The player runs for a touchdown. You need to head down the field and make sure he crosses the goal line. So you got to get on the move, right?
Which is the side judge or the back judge?
So generally in a youth game, we only have 3 or 4 officials. We have nobody deep.
Okay.
The guy who's doing false start and formation is the same guy that needs to be down on the goal line. So now, granted, their legs are shorter, but these players get younger every year, if you know what I mean. So, and we're not expecting you to outrun these players, but we are expecting a level of athleticism that makes it look like you're getting there. And if it's a situation where they're snapping at the 10-yard line and they need a touchdown to win, you need to be at the goal line before they cross,
Right.
right? So that takes a certain level of athleticism. It is 7 to 15 seconds of sprinting and running and jogging, followed by 40 seconds of waiting around. That is a level of fitness that my personal trainer had to develop for me anyway, because I really care about, maintaining my health. I've had lots of sports injuries. I was an athlete for a long time. I've got no labrum in my right shoulder. I've got a the peroneal tendon over here is always strained. So learning how to move, learning how to tolerate that kind of, it's rigorous because it's burst. It's burst energy in football officiating. In soccer, for example, you're always on the move. But in football, it's burst, right? Like in baseball, I'm doing this over and over again during the preseason, right? Because that's what I'm going to be doing. Because I'm behind the plate, right?
Yeah.
At football, you're not doing that. But in football, you need to be, right? Or you need to be, right? So that engages muscles in your core, especially. So you want to be fit in your core. What's nice about YouTube and TikTok and all those things is you can find stuff online that's pretty reliable to help you get good core strength and make sure you're ready to go. But also mentally, how do you get better mentally? And I think that comes from video. So let me put this back up again. And the reason I like NFA film is because they shoot from a very high angle. So when I say high angle, what I mean is I can see a lot of the players.
Yep.
I can see the officials on both sides, right? So I can see a lot of the action. A lot of youth games, when they do share film with us, they're horrible for officiating because they only show like a 2 yard radius around the runner, right? That's not the game film that will help you build your mental quickness and acuity and recognition. But if you look at this play, for example, look at how much ground it covers on this play. We're kicking from the 40-yard line. It's not a very deep kick, but it ends up bouncing. How many yards did that play cover?
60.
60 yards. So on that one play, we have to watch 22 players covering 60 lateral yards. But do you know how far it is across the field?
40.
It's a lot of yards wide, right? So we're talking about a 60-yard by 40-yard rectangle that players could foul anywhere in that vicinity. And you have to be ready to shift. And the way I call it is it's matchup to matchup to matchup. So I am adjusting my physical position, but also my vision. I'm looking here. Okay, I'm clearing that matchup. No foul there. Now I'm looking at the next matchup, clearing that matchup. But there's 5 or 7 of us, or in a youth game, 3 or 4 of us. We're not all watching the same matchup.
Right.
So you learn, you study, where are you supposed to be looking, and then you watch as many plays as possible with the mind on the rule, but also put yourself on the field in that position. This referee, where is he standing? The guy with the white hat.
Yeah, I know that. So
Yes. Why is that so important on this play?
see where the ball is, I don't know if it was recovery or see it.
Who's the best does this cameraman have the best angle? Does the cameraman have the best angle to determine any of the answers to those questions you just pointed out? Whether it was recovered in the end zone, whether it was recovered? No.
That vantage point, no.
Exactly. So if we don't watch video like this, if you find yourself in this position, you won't have done the mental reps to be prepared to officiate this play, right? These plays are the bane of our existence because kicks, it's the first doggone play of this game. Play 1. There were only 3 touchdowns scored in this game. We had another kickoff at the beginning of the second half. One of the touchdowns was scored right at the end of a half, so there was no kickoff following that one. So this game had a total of 4 kickoffs. 4. We have to be ready for those 4, even though 90% of the game, this kind of play didn't even happen. Right? Kick
This ended up
plays.
being an NFA touchdown.
No. You cannot score a touchdown if you're the kicking team if the kick never ended. If the kick was never possessed by the receiving team and then fumbled, the kicking team cannot score a touchdown. It's impossible.
It was a muff. It was
Still doesn't matter. If the ball is still kicked and never ends up in possession, the offense cannot possess the kick and advance it. You probably know, you probably heard the expression, you can't advance a muff.
right.
A lot of announcers will say that. That's actually not correct. You can advance a muffed fumble, you could advance a muffed interception, you could advance like a muffed pass, right?
Yeah.
And if the kicking team hits a guy after he recovers the ball and it pops out, well, that's a fumble. So what we say is when the ball was kicked, the ball gains a status. It's now called a kick. The ball is a kick. The ball travels, touches the receiver or not. It's still a kick because nobody gained possession. So the referee keeps his position on the goal line because it matters. What happens if a kickoff goes into the end zone? You know this from being
Touchback.
It's a touchback. That's right. So if this ball was never possessed and ends up in the end zone, it's a touchback, regardless of who stands up with the ball. Somebody's celebrating. I got the ball. I'm in the end zone. It's a touchback. East Lyme Waterford it happened? Yeah, so what exactly took place on that play?
Off one.
A punt. Yep. Still, the rules are the same for punts and touchbacks. Yeah.
That kind of veteran wing, a veteran baggage,
hmm
lost punt. It was in the end zone. Covered by
The kicking team. hmm
that judge. Goes up, first goes up, touchdown.
He goes up touchdown first. Yeah.
Everybody going,
Yep.
wing comes in, we're talking over, next thing you know, the wing's doing this.
Safety.
Kevin Albert is trying to go tell,
Yeah, I remember that.
tell Ellis,
Can't be either one.
each time's gonna get the ball in the plunge. And spit's coming out of his mouth, his neck vein is
The coach,
bulging out
yeah.
like this,
Yeah.
and finally, it dawned on him what the rule was.
Yeah.
We could tell me if my guy recovered at the two, it's our ball, because it was still kicking in the end zone, it's touchback, exactly. Damn it, Kevin, I hate it, and then like he says. One thing that this is, that I want to go back to something that Mike was talking about.
hmm
How during the play, he's watching this interaction here, then he's moving to this interaction here. As an official, you want to be aware of where the ball is. You don't want to be a ball watcher. Because especially when there's only three of us in the field. And you need to know, be aware of where it is. Aware of the status of the ball. But we officiate in many instances. Based on zones.
Yep.
Yep. So I'll stop right here. And just to illustrate that point. So the first thing we have here is we have an official who's standing right on the 30-yard line. And if you look here, he's not looking at the receiver at all. He's watching an interaction between these two players that are opponents, right?
Yep.
Because players can foul, the ball cannot.
Right.
Since the ball cannot foul, we don't need to watch the ball.